What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today we're sitting here with Danny. Danny, thank you for taking the time to meet with us, man.
Thank you for coming over. You're always welcome. It's a pleasure.
Well, I appreciate it. Look, I want to talk with you today about some prison-related stuff, and I got something really important that I think a lot of people will be interested to hear your response to, and that is, with the amount of time that you've served 40 years through 2 different prison sentences. I want to talk with you about how you survived that type of time.
The first thing you got to do is accept it. A lot of people have trouble accepting walking into that prison. It is not so much for fear. Well, that's part of it too. But a lot of it has to do with knowing that you're not on the street no more. You're not with your family. And if somebody's having a relationship, the first thing they're worrying about is losing their woman to another man. Always accusing, and I'm not saying every man, but the majority of them, what I see and what I learned, my experience, a lot of them end up losing their old ladies to another man. So it's a fear that they go through. Some might be addicts where they can get the drugs easy on the street. They can't get that no more. Whatever the case is it can be 2, 3, or it can be a combination of everything. The first thing that you have to do is adjust to it. And what I mean is accepting. And a lot of people struggle and fight. These are the people that walk around angry every day. And then it develops into pure hate. These guys a majority of them get into a lot of trouble through their action, body language, disrespect. These guys usually end up getting hurt, killed, or joining up with another crew to hurt somebody else. Or they take out their anger at somebody else. And most likely that's what happens. They take it out on somebody else and they get into a lot of situations. You have to numb yourself to some extent. Some people go beyond others. You know, for myself, doing the length of time I did, I had to go all the way. I could not care about nothing on the street, family. I did not care about nothing. I didn't care if I die in there because, you know, it's not a 2 or 3 year bid where I got something to look for. We're talking about 4 decades. So 4 decades, you know, either the health would catch up to me and kill me, or I get into some issues with some staff because they're very vindictive. They come at you, they set you up. Or it can be with another inmate. I mean, you never know.
With you mentioning everything that you have thus far, I want to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
Again, you're somebody who served an extensive amount of time. With that is going to come certain survival skills that you have to acquire, things that you have to do.
Right.
You got to basically transform and adapt yourself to the surroundings of the place where you're at. This hell on earth, horribly negative and also extremely violent place. But as we get into this, I want to kind of start from the very beginning. And I want to start with court. Talk to me about what it's like to receive an extensive amount of time. Your first incarceration was 24 years.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what it was like to receive that time and how do you process that?
Well, that was my first biggest sentence that I got. I remember like it was yesterday. My mother and my father was in court. I asked them not to come in, especially on sentencing day. I went to a 12-man jury. Their theory of conviction was my reputation. They had no evidence of the shooting. They described a black man, 6 foot, 300 pound, which a tattoo of a woman in his arm that they seen. I had a strip, pretty much my shirt, and there was no tattoo of a female. But because it was related to one of my family members, he got hurt, so they just connected me because
of the retaliation.
Of the retaliation fact. And so they put an APB and they used a SWAT team to come at me.
But when you received the amount of time that you did, you know, talk to me about that mind state right there when you hear that sentence.
Honestly, I thought I was going to win because the evidence was really, there was none. But when I received the sentence, the first thing my mother did is she went out. They had to take her in the ambulance. It affected my mother so tremendously that, and tears came out of my eyes only because that's why I didn't want my mother there. My father had went down. He turned pale. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. When they gave me, my first sentence was 16 to 20, along with a 9 to 10. Well, let me break it down. 16 to 20 is for the assault and battery with attempt to murder. There's 9 to 10 years, which is a close sentence. That means you do more. The closer the two, there's a double digit where I come from, double digit sentence. The 9 to 10 was for the assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, which was with sawed-off shotgun. And the 3 to 5 is when I broke my lawyer's nose because he sold me out. He did something and he played me, and because that particular defense that he should have used was that got me convicted.
And you did this in the courtroom?
Yeah, I did in the courtroom.
So obviously you received this sentence and you're just going out of control.
Right.
You're probably feeling like,
Yeah.
I don't want to assume what you're feeling, but what are you feeling like when you receive all of this time?
The total sentence was 31 years to 35 years. I served 24 out of that sentence. My knees buckled. I had to hold on to the table. I thought it was a skip and a walk right through the trial that I was going to walk. No, I buckled, and I held on myself, and I held tears, I held anger. But at that moment, my mind, I told myself, I'm all done. I probably won't even see the streets. And in particular, where I was going, Walpole State Prison. It was like the #1 most notorious, dangerous place all over the country. And I was a kid walking in here. I just got out of the military in 1977. So yeah, and then fear set in because of the place. So not just the time, but where I was going, how I'm going to do it. I was fortunate to have an uncle that he was there for murder. He ended up reversing the case. I think I mentioned in one of the video. And I had 2 cousins there that were already there. They've been very well established. So they showed me the rope when I got there.
And that was probably something that really helped you.
It did.
Going in there, having family in there, people who could tell you, hey, look, this is what you need to do. Exactly. Don't do this. What about for somebody who doesn't have any of that? You know, what would you say to somebody who's receiving a prison sentence? And this could be 5 years, 10 years, more years. If somebody's going to prison, what do you think is the first thing they have to do in an effort to be able to survive that?
I'm going to answer that question, but I want to also mention that a lot of guys, and not all of them, but I would say probably 30% of these guys, and then in particular, the ones that come in with messed up sentences like rape, snitching, they go straight with the Christian car. You see? And so when they have a Christian car there, depending what place it is, they regulate them very hard, population, because they know they go in there and hide as a Christian, thinking, well, I don't have to show no papers. But that's wrong. Now in the lower custody, they get away with it, but not in the higher custody. I would say the first thing a person has to do is accept what happened, come in terms with it, mentally, emotionally, and physically. People go in there for the first time, even second time, maybe even third, don't eat. They don't eat for a week.
I did that.
Yeah, they get sick, they feel weak, their delusion, their mind, they're constantly not aware of what's going on around them because they're thinking about the streets, my lady, my mom, my dad. Listen, I understand that people love them, but that's cool too. But you have to move that aside because there's a whole different world. This is reality, and this is the worst that it gets in there. I would recommend that if that would happen to somebody, which I hope it don't, to first I would suggest, go to education, go to programs, get yourself involved in something. Get yourself an institutional job. They don't pay a whole lot of money because that's the problem with the strike that they had not too long ago.
So obviously adjusting is the first thing that an individual has to do. Adjust and adapt. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that could take some time, just like you mentioned. You're going to go in there and be sick. You'll be sleeping. You won't be eating. Mm-hmm. I've done that. Was that something that happened for you?
Yeah, in this long one, the first one, yeah. But I snapped out of it quick because you really don't have the time to delay that adjustment, because the longer you take, the harder it is, the more apt you are to get into some type of bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. That. Especially at a place so violent like where you were at.
And then there's 3 ways that you have to adjust. That's psychologically, emotionally, especially emotionally, because that's when that anger bursts out for no reason at all. People ain't trying to hear that. And the 4th is physically. Third, I'm sorry. And you have to stay in shape. It's always good to work out, have a routine, and it keeps you busy also. And it helps you sleep at night, you know. And of course, the 4th one is get yourself a knife. These things here, I had no choice but to do. I've done it. The problem is that the longer you stay, the more harder you get. The more meaner, the more cold you get. And you become ice. Your heart is sealed with ice. Nothing will penetrate that. And even when you come out, nothing can penetrate. Somebody made a comment to me talking about that. On that point, they seen something that was close to me that wasn't going right. And the person they related, and they said, you know, that person don't treat you right, but yet you have patience and calm. He said, for a person with your background and what you did, he says, I'm surprised that you have a heart still. And I looked at the woman and I said, you know, it wasn't easy. And I'm still working on it. Sometimes what happens is, and this is what I'm afraid of doing, is not letting my heart rule a lot, because sometimes it blinds. The heart can blind, love can blind. Things that are not there can blind. So you have to be a pretty good judgment of character, and sometimes you got to put your foot down. But I've had that situation happen, but it's not a problem because I can handle it. I'm doing pretty well, believe it, considering the first day I met you in the first video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've come a long way, Danny, and it's not so much just what we've done, and by we, I mean everybody who rocks with After Prison Show. It's a lot of what you've done. It's mostly what you've done. Your willingness to try to adapt, just like you had to do when you were locked up. You got to do the same thing when you come home after all that time. Now you got to adapt and adjust back to a world that's completely different.
You know what's harder? It's harder to adjust out here versus adjusting when you go in. In there, you don't have a choice. Out here, you don't have to. But you gamble if you don't adjust out here. And when you gamble, that means a good possibility, probably 95% you're going back in. Because you get involved because of the attitude, that conduct, not adjusting. And you find yourself and out here, people will call the cops. They don't play. In there, there's no cop calling. There's nothing said. Everything is done on a quiet tip. Out here, people will call the cops. So that's what I'm saying. 95% of the time, you get into it with somebody over something stupid. Because I'm not adjusting to people and things and the way it is, they get into an issue. Then they escalate.
You've talked to us about the initial thing that you have to do, adjust, physically, emotionally, mentally. What are some other things that you have to do? Maybe like some unspoken things, things that a guy who's never served time before better take heed to if he wants to be able to survive doing time.
The stress not only comes from the inmate part or the convicts in there because of the way life in there and the violence. You still have to deal with the administration, like medical. You know, they don't provide medical. They don't care.
Well, they don't provide good medical.
They don't provide medical at all, period. I mean, and it depends. Very selective people are blessed to get it, okay? And I believe because they got pulled on the street. They call the congressman makes a phone call to the Department of Correction or to the federal place, and then they push the issue. But yeah, you have to deal with the attitudes, the nurse, the staff. They talk to you like crap. They really do. They treat you, humiliate you, and that's the problem. You know, you either adjust to that or you go to war with them. Or you put the paperwork, and that's still same thing going to war. But when you put the paperwork, they come at you. and they come at you by setting you up in your cell, or they get you into segregation, or they spread rumors on you that have you hurt, or they ship you somewhere else so that you can get hurt somewhere else, as they've done before.
Yeah.
And so, it's a dangerous place, and that's a real big adjustment. You have to
learn to deal with the staff,
and just pray that you don't get sick and you don't need them.
Which you will.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. Eventually, you're gonna have to deal with them. But that's another stress that comes. Also the food. Some places you get very little. Some places you get cold food. Sometimes it's not cooked right. So
sometimes it's out of date.
Right, exactly. Then the clothing part. They don't want to fit you the way you fit. They want to put you in tight pants because the guys hang their pants below their butt. So that's a new thing. Now they're giving you tight pants. So you're walking around and you're showing your groin, and you got dudes looking at you like, yo, baby, what's up? You know what I mean? Yeah, you want to date? You want to go out to a club tonight? So, But so you have to deal with that also, because they don't want to dress you. They don't give you enough clothes. They give you 4 pairs of pants. They don't give you your personal clothes. You got to buy that from commissary. You get nothing for free. So there's stress level in everything. If you go work for them, there's stress level behind that. If you go to education, there's stress level behind that.
I want to talk about some more generic things that are really serious things as well. Let's talk about getting to prison and joining a set, or getting down with a group, or getting in a car. Right. Is this something that a guy is going to have to do?
Yeah, I would say 95%. If you go on the West Coast, you definitely have to. They'll tell you right there, you're not running alone. There's no independent car here. They call them independent car. I was lucky. I was blessed, I should say, that I was able to run independent during those time, them years, from 2 years I spent in Victorville. Because they're Mexicans, they're all Mexicans, all their brothers. I believe those ain't no whites. So I ran by myself. I associated with a lot of people, but I ran by myself. I was alone. I was the only Puerto Rican in the yard anyways. On the East Coast, it's probably like a 90 to 95% you have to be in a car. Certain places mandatory, some places allow you to be independent, but it's still a car because you have another 400 or 500 who are independent. Now, when you're independent, don't mean you have to hang with them 24/7. You can do your own thing. But if something happens, technically, the independent car will all group up and handle it. That's the way it's supposed to. If the person stays out, there's a good possibility he'll get retaliated on. And it depends who you are, the respect you got too. It's a combination of a lot of things. But yeah, first thing that they ask you, the staff, when you come into booking, is what car you run with. To me, a car is a gang. It don't matter what. That's something they designed, grouping people. So you have to tell them, because they'll tell you, well, we don't want to put you in the wrong place, and we don't want to be, you're responsible for it because, you're going to sign a waiver form saying that, you're independent or you're not running with nobody. We don't want to, be responsible with a lawsuit. So that's how that works in that sense. But if a person comes in and he says he don't run with anybody and he's independent, or he runs with another car, and they do a background check and they found out that he was sitting in another car with a group in another place, and he switched up here, the people he belonged with, he sat on the other crew, will come and see him at that joint.
And you bring up a good point. I'm glad that we've got to this part right here, because there's a term that they like to refer to this as is getting G-checked.
Yeah.
Where they're going to come up to you and they're going to ask you certain questions. Hey, how come you were with these guys here and now you're here? And that can definitely lead to a lot of problems.
Including all the way up to death. I mean, that's just the way it runs in there. It depends on the situation and what. A lot of people get hit anyways because a lot of the people that was in another car left the other place owing money. You see what I'm saying? Or for bad reasons. Not everybody, but there are some.
Yeah, they check out.
Exactly.
They check off.
I say out of 100, probably about 40% leave another joint in a bad way. There's a good 60% that just travels and transfer, and because it was their time to go.
Yeah, you're going to get transferred.
Exactly. But regarding the cars, they usually stick together normally. People do associate, don't get me wrong. I mean, I associate with every car that was in the yard. One time or another, there must have been somebody that I dealt with, and you know, I did a lot of legal work, so I had a lot of people coming to me from everywhere. And I didn't restrict anybody. That's what I was there to do, and that's what I did. I did law work for people. I mean, you made a comment about somebody that contacted you that I did some law work for him.
I'm trying to remember his name. Yeah. Somebody did contact.
Down in Florida, yeah.
Yeah, but he did contact us, and he said, hey, you know, I saw Danny on this video, and Danny did legal work for me while we were, I can't remember even where he said.
That's in Coleman.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where, he said Coleman.
Yeah,
because I told you the guy's name, and you immediately knew where he was at.
And I got a funny feeling. That was the one that I was telling you that Whitey bought your light on.
Let's keep it moving, Danny. Let's talk about violence. You're going into prison. One way that you're going to have to attempt to survive prison is going to be through violence. Can a person go into prison and never deal with a violent encounter?
Yeah, there are some that skates through, believe it or not. There's some that skates through, and it's the persona of the person.
They're that big tough guy.
No, it's not really them. Those are the ones that get into trouble, most likely. It's the most passive, happy-go-lucky dude. That's for somehow he's blessed.
So it's almost like a lottery, you know.
You know, sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that the guys that are more likable are the guys who give stuff away more, help more, are very humble. Just you can't get mad at them. They're humble. And then there's a few who are very humble who get strong on.
Yeah, get taken advantage of, because that's just what I was getting ready to say. You know, kindness is definitely taken as weakness.
And then you got big dudes like this, like that dude in Friday, what was his name? Debo, right? Who are very humble. And because he's so humble, he's so big, nobody wants to mess with him. Yeah. I mean, you know, on the real tip, it's just, like they said, it's different flavor for every different person, I guess. It's just
So, and it's definitely politics. It's definitely the politics.
Everything. You know something? I hate that politics. I hate politics. I'm not a politician. I don't run for Congress. I definitely don't run for president, and I don't run for mayor. But I don't know where this politics came from, but it wasn't like this in the 70s and the early 80s, man.
And politics, let's explain that for people who don't know what we're talking about. I mean, these are like the unwritten rules. These guys got the microwave, stay away from these folks, they run this, they run that. You know, those are the politics. Politics are the rules that basically the prisoners are putting into place that really only the prisoners know.
You know, the politics now, especially with the younger folks, not all, and I don't want to down the young folks because I met a lot of them that are real good brothers, and they're very knowledgeable and mature. But a lot of them, and not only that, don't get me wrong, even the old timers are starting to do that because they just got in a bad habit of doing it. They turn politics into gossip like a soap opera.
What do you mean?
Well, hey, did you see Joe, man? I don't like him, man.
Oh, thanks.
You know, no, I'm just making a point. John, I don't like him, man. He's always at canteen spending money like he's rich, like he thinks he's all that and all that. Man, you know something? I feel like going to take his shit. Then all of a sudden somebody tells you something, and you come up to the say, man, what are you talking about me? What's up? Oh, I didn't say nothing, man. That dude is lying. So
oh, the gossip, yeah.
So, you know, and then they mix that with the politics because now the politics come in. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so now you got the old timers that say, well, you know something? You're wrong. Joe, take care of business. You got green light. And you step in and do it. Now, if you don't, now you look bad in your car.
Yeah, I'm the punk. But I appreciate you painting me out to be that tough guy because that's always the image that I'm trying to push.
That's right.
Look.
That's right. I got your back, belt.
Thank you. Y'all ain't messing with me. I got Danny, man. I got Debo from Friday over here.
I know, huh?
All right. I want to wrap this up, Danny. And I want to do so with one final thought from you. Mm-hmm. And that is, if there's one thing overall about surviving prison, And it doesn't matter how much time we're talking about. What do you think is the most important thing that a person has to do in an effort to be able to get through serving time?
You know, after all these years that I did, the best time I've had is when I was by myself in segregation. But it's solitude, and it's lonely, and you go through a lot of psychological, emotional things, and so you go crazy. I spent a lot of time in segregation. If I would have done my whole time, 40 years in segregation. I mean, I don't mean I'm going to come out very well in my mind. I'll probably be sick or something mentally. But it's just the dealing with the people and the stress and a different type of mentality. Because I tell you what, 95%, and maybe even more, maybe 99.9%, including staff, all suffer from mental illness, man. There's something wrong with somebody.
With everybody.
Yeah, with everybody, and even including myself, and I'm not excluding myself. I'm putting myself in that category. We all suffer from something, so it's difficult going up and down emotionally, sideways, this, up and down. It's just, it's just too much sometimes to bear. Now, I understand why people commit suicide. I don't think that's the right route to go, but I do understand.
So your final thing would just be the adjustment has to be the biggest.
Yeah, it has to be an agreement with you. The adjustment has to be agreement with you, and that's accepting what you did and come to terms with what you got to do and focus forward and adjust. The only thing I would suggest is, yes, you have to turn off emotions, but don't turn them completely off, and don't let your hate. That's the thing. That's the magic. Don't let your hate eat you up and burn you alive, because it will kill you and it will turn you into a monster. I learned that the hard way.